Hi everybody and welcome to Open LMS. So today we're going to talk to you and provide you with lots of good information. We have so much exciting things going on with Open LMS, and we're really proud and excited to for you to join us on our Open Live today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the agenda, and I will go through the agenda as soon as we get the slide on the screen, and I can talk to you a little bit about what we will be sharing with you today. So our agenda will be, we're going to have our director, Phil Miller, who will be talking to you and providing you with a nice overall welcome. We're going to be introducing you to our new company that's joined the family, eCreators. We're really excited, and Dean Saunders will be talking to you about all the exciting things that we have coming through. And we'll also be talking to you a little bit more about the virtual classrooms, how to add them to Open LMS. And Andy Braden will be talking to you a little bit about those as well. We'll also be talking to you about enriching the learning experience, and that will be with Mark Bailey. He's going to be diving in and giving you lots of information. He'll also be encouraging you to answer a few polls on our community site. We'll also be talking about the courses that we have for the virtual classroom and how to add them into your course. And also the maintenance pack release will be sharing a little bit more information about what's coming, what's new, and sharing lots of exciting things. And then finally, we will stop and we'll go over any questions and answers that you may have. So please put them in the chat, and we will open up for questions and answers once we finish the presentation. So we look forward to seeing you throughout this presentation. So have fun and enjoy. Thank you. So I'm going to hand you over to Phil Miller to provide you with a nice welcome all about Open LMS.
Hi, Karen. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, or good afternoon if you're in hang on. There we go. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to see all of you this morning or this afternoon if you're in Europe. So excited about you being part of our community and you joining us today. We've got a lot of great things to talk about. Since we started this journey about 6 months ago of the new Open LMS, we've been doing a lot of things to invest and grow, hiring new people, etc. And I'm very pleased to announce that actually today, or last night officially, the acquisition that I shared with all of you in an email of eCreators, the largest SaaS Moodle provider in Australia, is now officially closed, and now they're part of the team. This adds 28 amazing EdTech professionals to our team, adds about 400 clients to our community. We're really delighted about that. So we're excited about sharing lots of great things with you today. We're also going to do a little bit different format than usual. This isn't just going to be about us talking about product. It's actually, we've got some tips and tools for how to use virtual classrooms alongside Open LMS that we think are really going to add value to what you're trying to do. So with that, I'm very pleased to announce for the first time ever as an official Open LMS employee, Dean Saunders, who was formerly, as of yesterday, the CEO of eCreators, and today is the Vice President of Products for Open LMS. Let's see, middle of the night for you, Dean. Thanks for staying up late. But I want you to share a little bit about eCreators, what you guys have done, and why it's going to bring so many benefits to our Open LMS clients. So with that, Dean, I'm going to pass it off to you, and then I'm going to let you go to sleep in about 1 hour.
Thank you very much for that, Phil. Yeah, it has been a hell of a first day, baptism by fire, some may call it. But yeah, look, it's really great to be a part of the Open LMS group. It's a strong group with a strong reputation. Certainly, we've had a lot to do with them down here in Australia over the years. We currently do have just over 400 clients that we're bringing into the group. We have about 3.5 million people across Asia Pacific using our products, our combined products now. They're from all countries really, but most of our sort of concentration is in the AP region. I come into the organization as obviously VP of product. So it's my job to get my hands very dirty, to roll up my sleeves. Generally my sleeves are always rolled up anyway, to make sure we can get to the nitty gritties of any problems you might be experiencing, or any desires or needs that you might have in the use of the product. And certainly we bring a lot to the table in enhanced functionality as well too. So over a very short time frame, you're going to be seeing some new functionality pop up into Open LMS that you haven't seen before. You haven't seen it in Moodle. You haven't seen it in many other products around the world as well, so many non-Moodle products. And I'm really excited to be able to sort of merge our two products together to create something really, really special, which I'm very, very confident you're going to love. I better be confident you're going to love, because that's my charter. We obviously have a team of 28 people, as Phil had mentioned there, and a couple of the other things that we do on top of this is also have a team of instructional designers, fine artists, and e-learning content developers as well. So all of these people are very, very talented people. We'll be offering new content services to the Open LMS clienthood as well. We have a range of clients across the world, some of them US clients, so companies like Electronic Arts, Northrop Grumman out of the US use us for a lot of different services, and then a large portfolio of other organizations too. We've won recently a few awards. It was quite timely that it was only a week ago that we won half a dozen awards in the Asia Pacific LearnX competition, which saw us win awards right across the board. So awards for platform, awards for content, and importantly, awards for people and culture. So we bring a lot to the table there. Some of the, if I can have the next slide, some of the additional things that immediately, well, very soon, I shouldn't say immediately, but are certainly available now as plugins, span end-to-end really across the product offering that we do have. So we have programs and compliance features. So if you are after automatic notifications, re-enrollment for students, alerts, skills updates, and the like, we have a program and compliance plugin which manages all that. It's very simple to use. It's a good-looking UI, and it can manage all of those automatic alerts that you need. Another part that we want to speak to a lot of you about is monetizing your content as well too. So monetizing access to your learning management system. So we have a full suite of e-commerce product, which will allow you to provide e-learning courses at a cost, set your prices, set subscriptions, vouchers, different types of enrollment, social sharing, a whole heap of features. Another one which has been really popular across our clients in AP is our federated content store. So the federated content store is just that. So it allows anybody using Open LMS or even a third-party Moodle product to share content. So you can request access to content that might live on another LMS anywhere in the world and share that content directly to the other subscriber. This has been a really popular feature, actually. We've got a lot of people, again, using that, and we're confident you're going to get a lot out of that. Organization charts is a new one as well. So this is a drag and drop functionality, which allows for you to easily construct organization charts inside your organization. We also have an Active Directory sync for that as well too. So that can be automatically built if you have that plugin. Skills framework's a big one. We're really big on skills. Obviously, a lot of you have been hearing about the skills economy, and it sort of ties into e-commerce in some way, in that we're looking for ways for universities, for higher education to tap into new markets that they potentially haven't tapped into before. This allows you to attract a group of learners from various industries and the like, and figure out where they are on the skills framework and where they need to be. So how do we fill in those competency gaps and allow them for that framework? It also allows portability for the learner to be able to pick up those skills and carry them to another LMS. So if I finish university and go into the private sector, I can easily bring those skills along, sort of like digital badging. Custom themes are a big one. So usability is king. I've always had the attitude, and a little sign on our wall that you'll see in our office in Melbourne is, if you have to explain an interface, it's not a good interface. So we spend a lot of time on the user experience for both learners and for administrators to make that process a lot more simple. People like pretty things, people like to look at something, to interact with it, to touch and play, to color, to obviously be able to choose the device on which they view that content or that system. So we spend a lot of time on, we continue to spend a lot of time on getting that UI to work. With our new user interface or theme, you also have the ability to customize that deeper than you've ever customized it before. So there's new profile layouts, there's customizable footers, customizable landing pages, customizable course directories and the like. So when we get the chance to show you some of this, we're putting it onto the community as well, which the link will come up for shortly. And you'll be able to log into that LMS community. We have the Open LMS community to see some of this stuff in action and get a real taste for it. It's also a great place, obviously, for you to ask questions and give feedback on the things that we produce. I'm big on feedback. I speak to a lot of customers every day. I've been responsible for thousands of Moodle installations over the years, and responsible for responding to a lot of tenders and the like as well too. So I know some of the pain points in the corporate and higher ed space, and it's my charter again to make things better in that space, make things better every day. Another new thing that you'll see that we'll have coming out is we have an off-the-shelf content subscription. Now, at the moment, there's a lot of courses in that subscription that are free. There's about 30 modules that are built in Articulate Rise, which you can use. They're SCORM packages. You can put them onto your existing LMS and take benefit of those. But moving forward, we'll also have a high-quality content subscription model coming out as well that you can subscribe to. I'm excited to show you a lot of this sort of stuff, and certainly we'll be putting some of those links onto the Open LMS community, so you can click on them now, download them, try them out on your LMS. There's a lot of courses at the moment related to things like, obviously, COVID, remote work, self-care, and the like, and I look forward to sharing those with you. So exciting times ahead. We'll be merging all of the work that we've done down here across the world from Melbourne, and putting all these new features and pieces of functionality directly into Open LMS. So I hope you really like them. They'll be coming out to you very soon, and I can't wait. So thanks for having me along, and thanks for putting up with me at my midnight and whatever time it is there where you are. And I look forward to meeting with you online, or hopefully one day again face to face. So thanks very much for the intro, and great, I'll pass you back.
Great, thanks heaps for that, Dean, and really looking forward to do this new section that we probably haven't done before with this group, where we're taking a bit of a different tack. Instead of looking at some of our release information, we're going to take a more practical approach and look at how we can include virtual classrooms into the Open LMS. And I'm going to look more specifically at a section for education, for educators, for teachers, really thinking about how you can use and incorporate virtual classroom to enrich the learning experience. So before I begin, would love you to jump on and go into our community site, as you can see there on the screen, community.openlms.net. And when you go on there, you'll see that there's two polls. One relates to a term I'm going to introduce you to shortly called synchronous online learning, and the other poll relates to virtual classroom. So would love to see your response in those polls shortly when we get to that material. But certainly, let's start by setting a context. And we know that for a long time, institutions and organisations have really been focused on delivering face-to-face learning, and then over time we've seen that go to completely online delivery. And then, of course, over that period of time, we have seen the introduction of hybrid or blended learning, which is a combination of face-to-face online. We see blended synchronous learning, and now we're also seeing asynchronous online learning and synchronous online learning as well. And we know the difference between both of those. But what we're now seeing as a result of COVID as well is this new term that is just starting to come to the fore, and introduced by some academics at the University of North Carolina, and the University of Florida, called Synchronous Online Learning, which is really a combination of both of these two environments. And so what we're really talking about is a blending of asynchronous and synchronous online learning. And it's thinking about how do we incorporate or integrate the best of both of those to really create amazing learning experience for our students. And that's really what we want to focus on now. So when we think about synchronous online learning, and we think about that asynchronous space where it's learning that takes place anytime, anywhere, you know, that's really where we see the Open LMS. And we know that the Open LMS platform has heaps of tools that you can use to really create an engaging online learning experience. And what's exciting about that is there are lots of tools that are available that we can use to do that well. And then at the same time, we get this synchronous online learning, which is this real-time learning that we can also incorporate. And that's where we start to see these virtual classrooms that we can introduce into this space. And so our challenge becomes, how do we integrate the best of both of these platforms, both the Open LMS and virtual classroom, to create a fantastic learning experience and teaching experience as well for those involved in that work. And so when you think about that, think about this online synchronous and asynchronous learning, just think about and reflect on how you sit in that space. Is it something that you're excellent at? Is it something that you're very good at, satisfactory, needs attention, or needs considerable attention? So just have a think about that. And if you've been able to hit the poll and respond, that's fantastic. And so when we look at the poll response there, we can see a lot of people are satisfactory or needs attention. And that's fairly common. And what we hope to introduce over the next coming months are different ways that we can help you lift that, so you do become more confident around how you use Open LMS, how you use the virtual classroom to really engage students in the learning. So when we think about the virtual classroom and how it's used to enhance the learning experience, if you're a teacher or an academic or an instructor or a facilitator, there are some key things that you can think about to really enrich that learning process. One of those is around learner engagement. And we know that if you can engage learners, if you can get them actively involved in discussions, if you can provide them that feedback is right there, if you can get students really interacting with peers, with instructors, it really creates a really good learning environment. The learners don't feel isolated, they feel a part of something special. And so what we find when they are engaged, particularly we find that they're actively involved, we find that they can collaborate, and they're getting used to real world or authentic context in which they're learning. The second reason why we might think about why virtual classrooms is because of dynamic learning. It's real time, which means you've got time right there and then to explore topics in more detail depending on who's in the room. You've got an opportunity to really explore different ideas and concepts at different levels depending on those that are participating. And thirdly, it's really around instructional depth as well, where you've got people in real time, they've got the opportunity to think, to interact and ask those questions that are on their mind to help clarify things that are happening. But for me, when I think of all three, it's really that learner engagement. So as an instructor, how do you use virtual classrooms to engage students? It's a common problem, and it's probably a disconnect that I see with a lot of facilitators and teachers saying, look, you know, how do we create a good design, and how do we use the tools that are available to do so? And we know that when courses are designed well, when you really create engagements and interactions in using different types of opportunities to do that, we know that students have a good learning experience. We know that when teachers use effective teaching methods and are able to use the technology as a tool, then there's generally more success with promoting student engagement. And that's really what we want to try and achieve as we go down this track of synchronous online learning. So when we think about the virtual classrooms and we want to focus on that aspect, what are the tools that are available in these classrooms? And we know that there's quite a few that we could use, as you can see here on the list. It's extensive, but we know that there's more tools than that. But as teachers and facilitators, when we look at a list like that, sometimes we're a bit daunted about, well, which ones do we use? What's the context behind using them, that we can use them in a way to stimulate engagement? And here I've quickly highlighted those that you can use to do that. And that's why we love using virtual classrooms that are built for education. For example, Blackboard Collaborate is one of those tools where you do have a lot of these interactive type tools that you can use to really get students actively involved in the learning. So again, when you think about your experience and knowledge using virtual classrooms, just reflect for a moment and what's your thinking around that. And again, some of you have already answered the polls, and we can see, again, there's that satisfactory needs and attention type results when we look at it there. So what I want to do is really give you one of the tips I use all the time to help people think about, you know, what tools do we use, what's the context, to really create that great student engagement, which is what we want to see with our students. So this is my tip. Map out a plan of your session so you're clear on what tools you need to use, and generally doing that, you think about the why, and then think about when you would use them. So how do you map out a plan? Well, you can use Post-it notes to do that, or you could use different pictures like this of the different tools that are available. And if you've got them as little cutouts on a desk, you can move them around to say, well, first I'm going to hit the record button. Then I'm going to remember to turn my audio and video on. I'm going to share a presentation to my students. I'm then going to write a question in the chat and hopefully students respond. I'm going to use the whiteboard and then I might ask another question to see if students want to respond. That's great. It helps maps out what tools you want to use, but doesn't it really help you understand the why behind it? What's the pedagogical approach that you're using just in that little scenario? And that's really what we want to think about. How are we using the right set of tools in the right sequence to engage our students effectively, to really stimulate their interest, where they can explore those ideas and concepts in more detail. And so one of the things I like using, particularly with teachers and and academics that are subject matter experts and perhaps haven't had that really strong education background, that here's a couple of ideas to think about. Here's a set of learning types. There's 6 of them. There's acquisition, there's discussion, there's practice, there's collaboration, investigation, and production. 6 simple learning types that you can use. So which ones would you use to get students actively involved? And certainly discussion, practice, collaboration, and investigation fit that bill. So when I think about designing a virtual session, I take this approach. I look at those 6 different tools, learning types, and I think about what tools should I use. So if I want to use the chat, what's the context behind it? Do I want to use it to get students to collaborate on an idea in a breakout room? Do I want to use the chat because we're investigating something? Or is it just generally to have some discussion? So having something like this really helps you as teachers understand why you're using those virtual classroom tools and the purpose behind them. Again, just showing you a little more detail with some more tools that are available and the context in which to use them. So as you think about that, let's take that learning approach again to planning a session. So again, how do we map out the session? Well, we start thinking about it from a pedagogical perspective. We start thinking about, we want students to acquire some knowledge. We want to then provide students an opportunity to interact or discuss what it is they're learning. Maybe it's a concept. Maybe it's an idea. We then want to look at something that they want to investigate. Maybe it's a scenario we want them to look into. Maybe it's a problem we want them to explore. And then we may follow up with some discussion around their findings. So once we understand the why in terms of the learning that we want to achieve to get our students really engaged, we then start thinking about what is the tools that we can use. So again, that first part, recording, turning the audio and video on, is standard. And then we think that, hey, we want to use our share screen so students can get the relevant information that they need, and maybe there's a question on there that they can then run away with and look at the chat. Then we may want to run a couple of polls and then conclude with some discussion at the end. And again, mapping out your session like that really creates an amazing learning opportunity where students are really engaged in what you're doing. So that's understanding how you're thinking that goes behind using both the LMS and a virtual classroom together. Now let's look at the how we make that happen. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. That was some great information about kind of the why and the thinking and theory about how to use virtual classrooms to supplement and augment and build experience in your teaching and learning environments. My job is to talk about the kind of nuts and bolts of how do you stick it in there. So I'll take us through that over the next couple of slides. And we'll look at 3 different ways to add virtual classrooms to your classroom experience on the platform. The first way is to think about custom integrations. A lot of these tools have their own, purpose-built integration that's available on the platform. Those custom integrations have been developed by someone, usually the author, sometimes a university, sometimes us, to create a inside the experience tight integration inside the platform. If you're using a virtual classroom tool today and you want to know if it's supported and it has a custom plugin, go ahead and check out our plugin matrix on our help site. It's got the full list of all the plugins, and there are hundreds in there. So there's a little search filter, and you can just type in Zoom or Big Blue Button or whatever you want to put in, and see if there is indeed a dedicated plugin or a custom integration available for that tool. These are the ones that I know for sure are on that list. Blackboard Collaborate, Zoom, WebEx, Big Blue Button, Teams, and Adobe Connect. Some of them have loads of features, and some of them are pretty bare bones. And there's a lot of sort of spectrum there of what they work with and how they do it. But fundamentally, they're all going to provide an activity that somebody can click on to add to the course, that has some settings that tell it when it's going to happen, and provide a single sign-on over to the virtual classroom experience from the classroom inside of OpenLMS. Those tools are all really designed to do that. Now, some of them have loads more features, like passing group information and creating breakout rooms dynamically and pulling grade information and attendance data back and things like that. And some of them don't really do any of that. It really varies pretty widely between the different integrations as to what they provide. But those are kind of the first class easy approach solutions for adding those to your class. Those are also really thinking about delivering that virtual classroom tool to all instructors in the site to be able to use. If we check out on the next slide, we can see that there are rich capabilities that then come with that activity. Because it's an activity, it has capability settings that are available, and you can tune that. If it was that not everyone, not every department, not all the users, whatever the licensing rules are about the solution that you're using, says that you shouldn't just have everybody in the system using it. You can restrict access to it by changing the capabilities and creating custom roles. You might, for example, make a distance learning teacher role as a copy of the teacher role and give it the ability to add the in this case, Collaborate plugin to their classroom, but not give the standard teacher role access to that same tool. So now everyone can use it if it's available to them as an activity, right? If it shows up in a class they're in, they can click on it and use it. Everything's fine. But only teachers with the right role added to them would have the ability to create an instance of the Collaborate classroom to connect to your OpenLMS class. And that way you could enforce those licensing rules and restrictions that don't really map to the product as well as it maybe could. And this way you can really set things up. And again, this is really thinking about delivering this tool to everybody in the system, right? All instructors, everyone who can edit a class could get access to it. This way you could restrict that access to just the people that need to have access to the tool. Another approach that we've got in the platform is on the next slide, and it shows us the sort of default integration for all tools, not just virtual classroom tools. And these are LTI, or Learning Tools Interoperability. It's a standard developed by IMS Global. All of your LMSs, including OpenLMS, have access to this tool. OpenLMS, built on Moodle, supports and is certified for LTI Advantage, or LTI Advantage version 1.3, if you want to get into the nuts and bolts. But Advantage means that it's the newest release of the standard. And that standard is about interoperability. It's in the name. So it's about how this platform and this other tool can integrate with each other and work. LTI provides a really simple framework for the basics of what an integration should do. And the advantage element means that there are some advanced settings available that allow you to make some customizations to that tool set. LTI gives us the ability to put this tool out again to everyone in the system potentially. If I develop and set it up as the administrator, I can distribute that plugin then to everyone as an option to use. Or individual faculty members could use the LTI tool, the external tools plugin inside of their class, and add their own LTI credentials for their own integration to a virtual classroom to their course and not everyone else's course. So this gives the ability to kind of constrain how wide that tool needs to be used. So as the faculty, I can set up my own LTI connection from my class and be able to deliver my integration to my classroom of choice. There are challenges with that I it makes sense when it makes sense. One thing to consider is that when students run into, Big Blue Button in one class and Zoom in another class and Collaborate in a third class, it gets confusing for them because they got to remember what tool they're using where all the time. So there can be some challenges with that. There's a lot of policy that you need to consider about how you want to push that out to folks, but it's a great way to give people the power to get the thing done they need to get done. And there are loads of legitimate reasons to choose for a particular audience or a particular region that someone's teaching in, the tool that fits that region the best. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about how to manage those tools and their delivery to the faculty administratively. So when I'm delivering this out to everyone using LTI, I go into the external tools settings on the site level, and I can configure that tool, and then everyone has access to that tool. I have choices about how to deliver that to them through the external tool settings. So I can say, add an external tool, and in the pre-configured tool drop-down menu, the name of the tool will show up. So Collaborate LTI is in my drop-down menu. Or I can say, add it as a button to the activities menu. So I link in the icon. In the case of Collaborate, it's just an icon inside the theme pack. So I can copy that icon path, or I can grab the icon path from somewhere else. Maybe the tool publisher has an icon that they're going to share with you, and you can deliver it that way. There are lots of different ways to get the icon in there. If you're having trouble with that, fire off a little support ticket, and we'll set you up. But it's this way, it's just a button that shows up in their menu of other buttons to add content to the course. And if you're feeling like I usually do, you make it do both. So it's in the drop-down menu and it's in the buttons available on the course. So whichever path they choose to get there, we get there. Hey, Mark. I think we lost our PowerPoint slide there for a sec. But what's cool about that is we can always add that LTI tool either system level or to the individual in their course can add their own instance of it. It works for either. On the next slide, we'll kind of talk about the last option, which is links. If it was that LTI wasn't a possibility, or you just don't prefer it or something, whatever the case may be, there is always the option to add a link to the class. This is sort of the brute force method, if you will. It's but it has a lot of advantages in its own way. I don't have to think about complex integrations. I don't have to think about getting integration set up, or maybe my licensing doesn't give me that LTI option, right? There's certainly tiers inside of products like Zoom that you don't get access to LTI until you buy that kind of license, kind of thing. And they're not alone in that. Not to pick on anybody. So maybe it is that someone's got access to a tool, but they don't have LTI yet. That's fine. You can just copy and paste the link, sort of like you do in emails, or sort of how you might do in calendar invites, you can do the same thing. And in fact, calendar invites is a great example. If I add links like that to my course, because a virtual classroom tends to be at a time, I'll also create a calendar event to link with that link to the virtual classroom, so that the students really know when I expect that to happen, right? It's an event. It actually has a moment in time that it's going to occur. So we can leverage that. But you can also put it in things like labels or anything that supports HTML pages, post it in discussion forums or the announcement forums. You can put it in the directions to an assignment or another activity that the meeting is going to be perhaps about or associated with. But also consider putting it in a calendar event associated with that thing. So so it all kind of makes a circle for the students and makes it easy for them to find that link. The disadvantage of links, as opposed to things like LTI or a custom plugin, is that it's not going to do a single sign-on behavior for the student. They're going to have to navigate their way to logging in. Maybe their browser has a cookie that remembers who they are, and so they don't have to log in every time. But it's not quite as seamless. You're not going to get grades and attendance information back, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to get a copy of the recording available automatically, but you can manage those links, and you could replace the link with a link to the recording after the session is done. On the next slide here, we'll talk a little bit about one of my kind of suggestions on this tool, which is there's a tool available inside the platform. Even if you're not using it today, you could always get it, which is called Checklist. And Checklist allows you to build a menu of expectations for the learners and allow them to check off the things that they've done. It can either be the instructor checking it off, or the student checking it off, or both of us checking it off as completed. But what's cool with this tool is not only can you make a list of tasks, you can make those tasks tied to a calendar date and time, much like a virtual meeting might be. And I can provide a link to that virtual meeting inside the task. So the student can see in their checklist of items that they need to get done, that they have a meeting today, and that meeting today is providing the link that they click on to take them to the meeting. And so it sort of closes the loop, especially if you're using link methods to do your virtual classroom sessions. That might be a really useful way to keep students on track and let them know when they've attended all of the meetings, right? so they know clearly what the expectations are and what they've done. So that's my little spiel about ways to integrate into the classroom. I'm sure you guys have some great ideas as well. Jump in and share them on the community, or keep them secret, I suppose, is the other option. But thank you very much for joining us on that. And I was going to say I'd pass it off to someone, but I'm actually passing it right back to myself, because I'm going to talk to you just a few minutes about the upcoming Maintenance Pack release. Maintenance Pack 2 is coming out. It's coming out to your sandboxes, I think, tomorrow, and pushing out production next week, or maybe tonight, I should say. And Maintenance Pack 2 is, it's a maintenance pack, so there shouldn't be loads of crazy changes coming at you in a maintenance pack, but we do have some pretty exciting stuff in this one, so we thought we'd take a couple minutes to talk about those. Overall, there's some enhancements to typical user experiences that you have all the time, some bug fixes and things like that, but nothing dramatic. But we have made some big changes to Conduit and some of the functionality inside of it, as well as the content management system, the centralized content management interface. So Conduit's changes, one of the exciting ones, at least for like super nerds like me, is the support for custom fields and courses. So there's a hook now inside of Conduit that allows you to specify custom fields for course objects and populate those custom fields through the Conduit integration with your student information system to give you extra data to add to a course. Really useful for reporting and really cool and fun. And I'll probably be spending the weekend playing with that. So, because that's apparently what I do for fun. But there's also a set of enhancements to Conduit around notifications and alerts. If you recall, we did release just recently the quarantine behavior in Conduit, where if something goes wrong with processing some data inbound, it takes that file and sequesters it in a quarantine and lets you come in and see that things have failed to process. It's a really cool feature, but it wasn't notifying you the way that a lot of the other things that notify you in Conduit might do. So now there's controls and settings that are coming in for Conduit to give you that ability to manage how you get notifications about the quarantine behavior specifically inside of Conduit. So it's a pretty cool feature, and I'm super pumped about that one. David really put in a lot of great thought and example in there, and the release notes, if you head to them, have like little examples of how these different elements work. Check it out. There's a lot more in the release notes than just the stuff I'm talking about right now, but most of it's just nitty gritties, enhancements to the IntelliBoard plugin, for example, or bug fixes for particular features or behavior inside of Snap, things like that. The centralized content management system, I'll make my quick plug for that. We released that in 3.8. It came with just labels to start. It's been out for a few months now, so we've ramped it up and added pages to the activity types or resource types, really. That can be managed inside of there as well. If you haven't checked it out yet, go kick the tires around on it if you can. It's available to start up in the administrative settings, and you can manage courses. You can pull content objects, so labels and pages, out of courses, add them to the repository, and then publish them from there to be used in other courses, but centrally managing the versioning of that object. It's a great way to take reusable content that's populated throughout the system and centralize and manage it. We're really, thinking of this as an interactive, iterative process, and so we're releasing this tool. Folks are checking it out. We've made some enhancements to the user interface. We've now added an extra element to it. We want you to get in there and test it out. Give us some feedback. What needs enhancing more? What do you like? What could be changed more? Get in there and let us know. Participate a little bit in the design and the building of this tool. And it'd be great to see if someone else could break it besides me, because they're kind of tired of hearing me tell them what I broke. So you break it. But in all seriousness, it's a really cool tool, and it has a lot of potential to streamline the administration and management of common course materials. I'm thinking particularly around use policies, and library access, and academic policies that could all be centrally managed inside of this tool and published out to all courses rather than just PDF files. The upside as well is that HTML content that's going to be coming from a label or a page resource is more accessible for students than any static file object is. So it's always good to enhance your accessibility scores. Thank you very much. I'm all done jibber jabbering away. And yeah, break it on the sandbox site, not the production site. Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I'll bring back the rest of the gang here, and we'll hang out for some questions as well.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. We're getting back. Paulo here again, the guy behind the chat, and thank you very much for joining. We made it to our first YouTube live, so this is a great experience for us, but also so happy to see you here. We are going to switch into a Q&A session. Let me start by some of the comments that were happening before when we were going through the presentation around content creation, the CCM, and the options that the creators have. For my part, I'm going to pass this to Dean in a moment, is we really want to help the content creation workflow and the process and assist on those experiences that you are already creating by facilitating those workflows, but also by providing some new tools that could generate some consistency across the institution. So, Dean, what are your thoughts around that, and what's some of the issues that you could share at this point related to content creation and some of the capabilities there? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry.
There we go. Could you repeat that question for me? I missed that. I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely. People are excited about the content creation capabilities and also some of the design practices that the creators have and how we could bring those into some capabilities for the open.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look, content is again a key skill that we bring to the group. So to give you some examples of the sorts of things that we're working on at the moment for Nissan, would probably be a good one. So we're working on 3D models of a range of their vehicles. So every time there's a new car that's released off their lot, we construct a 3D model of that car that the salespeople, the sales crew on the ground are out in the yard, who the ones that come up to you and bother you, and they're always blessed with all that information that baffles you. We're creating 3D models for all those vehicles, so the salesperson can flip them, they can click on various components. That can be used with a VR headset on as well, if you want to get a real up close and personal look at it. And we have different levels of content. So level 1 is very passive stuff. Our level 1 is pretty exciting. I mean, we don't sort of do page turner stuff. If you want just text to the right, image to the left, that's not really us. We struggle with that, and sort of got one of our designers to do that. They'll quickly walk away from you like a snobby waiter. They're used to creating stuff that is exciting. I mean, our tagline, "Love the way you learn," which is the tagline that Open LMS will be moving forward with as a group, is about that. It's about creating enjoyable learning experiences. When you see our content and you see it for the first time, you want to touch it, you want to play with it, you want to interact with it. We don't create things that are linear. So as a result, we break things up into those 3 levels. So level 1 is what we call passive interaction. Level 2 is limited interaction, and level 3 is that top level stuff. So level 3, we're creating VR applications. For example, we're working on a project at the moment with the Australian Army for field medics and the like, in how to treat wounds and things in combat situations. In the safe confines of virtual reality. We're working with food manufacturers, for example, in picking and sorting. So how to safely handle food and fill up a container, and where to find the emergency buzzer if you need to stop the line before we actually put people in that dangerous environment. So yeah, we take a different approach to content development that you might have seen before. The showcase there that we've shared in the link will show you some of the things, but certainly if you want to explore those in depth, we're happy to sort of set up some additional calls with you to take you through what's possible. Someone's looking at my whiteboard.
Yeah.
By the way, Dean, I just this morning when the acquisition fully closed, I updated our LinkedIn profile just to change our slogan to "Love the way you learn." So we're starting to integrate your stuff already. We're not going to wait.
Right. Look, I can tell you all right now, I'm really excited to begin working with you guys. I mean, the first things that I'm getting involved in is your pain points. What doesn't work for you? What don't you love? What don't your learners love? I want that feedback from the people using the application, be they learners or be they admins. Because if that pain is there, that's something I need to wear, and things that I want to sort of put into our products. Each of the products that we work on and have worked on over the years have been engineered to be successful in that manner, that people that do enjoy using the platforms. I mean, learning shouldn't be something that's scary, and technology shouldn't be this hurdle you need to overcome to actually learn or get the best out of your learning experience. It shouldn't be the case. The platform is simply that weight that serves this nice thing to you, and the content should be easy to absorb, as enjoyable as possible, as pedagogically sound as possible, and lead to those good outcomes for everybody. So yeah, look, I really want to show you some things that I'm thinking, future thinking, but I don't want to blow your minds to that. But yeah, look, I'm happy to sit down with any of you at any stage. So if you want some one-on-one time to really explore, have a deep dive into sessions, please, yeah, talk to whoever your contact is at OpenLMS at the moment, or certainly feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a chat anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting the whiteboard, but it's also exciting to see the guitar there. That's always a good sign. There's a question I'm going to select Phil to answer because of reasons. Do we have any sense of the cost for the new features, or will they be simply part of our current OpenLMS contract?
Well, I thought the question was going to be about Dean's guitar, so I was prepared for that, but I wasn't ready. Yeah, so for most of the things that Dean is sharing, those are going to be plugins which we are going to over time incorporate into the OpenLMS platform. Essentially, we're going to merge the platforms together to create a better platform, both for higher education and for corporate learning. There are some elements of things that Dean has created. He mentioned some of them today around how you can monetize your content. There are some things that have actual additional costs for us to run and help service you. And so there will be a handful of them that are a premium offering that do require additional fees, but we haven't fully worked through what all of those will be yet. That's going to be part of the work that's happening over the next few months. Our goal is to just provide you more value. There are times where providing you more value costs us more and takes more energy, et cetera. And so we are going to need to actually recoup our costs and make a little bit of money on that. But we think that you're going to find the vast majority of these additional things for free. There is in the community site, Dean actually posted some photos and some clips of some things that you can expect to see in the near future from the eCreators edition to OpenLMS. So go check that out in the community site.
Yeah, I'm going to share a question from Jason Ford, who is a legend in our community, by the way. Dean, you should know that. I want my team to focus more on creating the fun stuff with faculty and less having to point out the things that just should make sense. Can you speak more to how you will help with the UI?
Yeah, sure. So that was also a question that came up in our Southeast Asia session this morning. So let me give you a similar answer. So what we've integrated into our core product down here is the functionality we'll be integrating into OpenLMS, and that is a new front-end theme. So a front-end theme that's basic. Now let me talk about the word basic or the word simple. Creating simple is really, really hard. That may sound like a really silly thing to say, but you've probably seen, you've used Moodle over the years yourself, you've probably seen what complex looks like. So imagine having to pare that back. Imagine having to put the things on screen that just make sense, and then imagine having to create a sensible breadcrumb trail so you can get to that extra functionality. Well, that's what we've done with the new front end. And look, there's a couple of images there that on the forum they've mentioned, but soon in the coming weeks I hope to stand up a play site so you can actually go in and have a look around at how this UI works. But what we've actually given you in this instance is complete control over that UI. So if you want to turn off different menu items, if you want to hide different pieces of functionality, that can be done. So you can have your own custom footers, you can design your own custom menus. The course page is very clean and simple. Now that very front course page. So yeah, it's something that obviously we're constantly refining, and UI is just like that. It's something that does need ongoing refinement, and obviously look at the roles in your organization to what different people need to see when they log in. Obviously, admin can probably be a little bit busier, but for a learner, just show them what they need, give them an easy path to get there, and get them straight to their content, straight to the stuff they need to know, straight to the stuff that they need to be reminded about. Easy, accessible ways. Again, the technology doesn't drive the education and the like. You probably heard those sorts of sayings before, but access it on any device, anytime, anywhere, really simply. So we'll show you some in upcoming sessions some of the work that we've done, extensive work that we've done in that space, and certainly some forward thinking, the things that we're thinking tomorrow could look like as well.
Hey, Pablo, can I preemptively take Reem's question?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Yeah, so this is about the experience working with the food and manufacturer and how that helps higher education, everybody. I will say this is one of the biggest benefits that we see from the eCreators acquisition and integration with our team. They've done a lot of work in corporate learning, a lot of work in vocational education, a lot of work in skills and competencies that we think is going to bring a lot of value to higher education clients, K-12 clients. The world, the line between higher education, community colleges, further education, corporate learning, that line is becoming very blurry. And we want to take the innovations and the creativity that's happening in different parts of the ed tech landscape and apply them across to the different sectors. So we think that that combination of knowledge is going to be a real benefit in both directions. We think higher education is also doing some amazing stuff that we can take into the corporate learning and vocational learning field. So we're excited about that experience that eCreators have. We're trying to create interactions between our teams and also between our communities to cross-pollinate that knowledge, which is going to be a big part of making this successful. So Reem, we see it the same way you do. We're very excited about that.
Thank you, Phil. And well, we're reaching to the end of our session today, but this is not the end of the conversation. You can follow up the conversation in our community. If you haven't joined that, please do. All of the team members that you see here, plus the rest of the OpenLMS team that you are not watching right now, are in the community, and we'll be happy to assist you with any questions you have. This is also the first time that we do this with this format and with this technology, so we will love to see your comments and feedback about this session. If you like it, please let us know. If you maybe think that we are in need of tweaking some stuff here, let us know too, please. This is for you, essentially. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.